Hello, everyone. I'll move over.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
No, we need our space, Duncan.
Thank you all for sticking it out. And, I know it's been a long day, but I think we're excited to have a great conversation about wallets. So I think we should just get started. Everyone go down the line and introduce themselves. And I'll go last.
Yes, so my name is Or. I'm one of the co-founders of Comaway. We built a public chain, which is also a relational database.
I'm Graham McBain. I'm here with Status Wallet. It's a mobile wallet.
I'm Scott Gralnick. I'm from Portis. We built a non-custodial embedded SDK solution that powers 60 plus companies, 50,000 plus users in the ecosystem. Try to make it easy as possible for everyone.
Hey, I'm Gunjan. I'm from Wire. We're basically a fiat on and off ramp, basically an SDK or API you can embed into your dApp.
And I'm Duncan Cock Foster with Nifty Gateway. And we were recently acquired by Gemini. Okay, guys, so I want to start this panel off today. And I want to talk a little bit about an issue that I've had with the NFT space for a while. I feel like a lot of the terminology and the vocabulary that we inherited in the NFT space was sort of unintentional. And when NFTs first started, the first contracts were offshoots of ERC-20s. So we got a lot of the vocabulary that people use when they're talking about currencies and when they're talking about money. And I don't know if that's the best thing, because I think it's a little confusing. You wouldn't really talk about storing your art in a wallet. You would hang your art up on a wall. You really wouldn't talk about storing your collectibles in a wallet. And so just to start off the panel today, I would love to ask each one of you guys, do you think that these sort of financial terms are holding back adoption in the NFT space? And if you could go back and change the way that people refer to the place where they store their NFTs, if you could replace the word wallet with something else, would you do so? And what would you replace it with? So maybe Graham, do you want to start with you or Scott? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question.
Oh, and please make sure you talk directly into the mic, just so everyone can hear you.
So terminology is always pretty important for people in psychology. Talking about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, one of the things that's so important about it is it has mass appeal. But unfortunately, if you talk to someone on the everyday base what an NFT is, they're like, what is an NFT? What is a non-fungible token? If we would have started, years ago talking about something that has value to them, that is meaningful to their life, I think we could have been much further ahead than we are now. Wallets, sure. Everyone has a wallet. I think the term wallet may be confusing in storing assets and value, but overall, as a starting point, it seems pretty good. But NFTs definitely need a change.
Yeah, I think using an acronym is a terrible idea. It's great in the military, but it's not a good idea in the public. We've got an NFT sticker market in chat. But we just call it a sticker market because that's what people are used to is stickers. So I think just because the technology exists doesn't mean you need to talk about it. There's a company that lets you buy fractional ownership of cars and shoes and all that kind of stuff. They're one of the most successful companies that uses Ethereum, and they don't use the word Ethereum in anything that they do. It's entirely under the hood. So I think we are a little in love with our own technology, and we need to sort of step back from that, pull our egos out, and just build for the user, not for ourselves.
So I would love to do this experiment. We should take a video and walk around Times Square and ask people, do you know what TCP is? Do you know what HTTP actually stands for? Do you know how the internet actually works? Probably 99% of the people have no clue, but all they know how to do is, use Facebook, Instagram, Uber, things that add value to their life. Web 2 has created things that add value. And I think we need to focus on building things that actually add value and stop worrying about the terminology and create something very simple.
Yeah, so I think that this is an interesting debate, and oftentimes when I find myself explaining NFTs to someone who's never heard of them before, sometimes I'll just simplify the discussion and say, oh, it's a digital collectible. But I find with that terminology, it's a little bit harder to explain what makes it so special, because they have digital collectibles before. So I guess really another thing to think about, is it more important to try and educate people with a new term that might be confusing, but effectively communicates the fact that, hey, this is a totally new thing. We've never seen anything like it before. Or should we try and use a term like digital collectible, which, while it is accessible, maybe it doesn't feel as special, or maybe it doesn't feel quite as exciting as an NFT. Because an NFT is a very new, different type of digital collectible.
Yeah, I'd say that even though we have these acronyms and we're saying, that we should probably lower the barrier to entry for this new wave of people, at a high level, there's always going to be some sort of like primitive layer that you're going to need to understand. You have to understand what Ethereum is and the value add there, and then you have to understand what an ERC20 is, what an ERC721 actually does. And so, yeah, we can stop calling them NFTs, but you still have to understand what the underlying protocol actually does.
Do we though? I mean, maybe we do, but the users don't.
But why would they decide to hold something in a digital asset then?
Because someone told them or explained to them how this real art that they have in their house, there could be a digital form of it that'll last, eternity, and it'll provide value over time. And they don't need to know what the ERC20 is or how the protocol actually works. They just need to understand the value of it.
Yeah, and I think as like more interfaces are built and wallets in the space, it definitely abstracts that layer away from users. But right now, if you don't understand what it actually does, you could be like, exploited.
I don't know. So CryptoDozer, a really cool game, and it's very simple. No one needs to know what the protocols are. You tap and a coin drops, and you tap a coin drops, and you try to get the DAOs, and you try to get the chests and the keys. I don't think you have to explain to users the protocols behind that make it happen. They just want to get the tokens, and they want to get the DAO, and they want to have that cool DAO that they say, cool, now you could trade it on OpenSea or some exchange or their own internal marketplace. But the end user doesn't need to know what's happening underneath. And they have fun. It's sticky, and they just tap, tokens come, and they're having a good time.
And I think eventually we'll get to the point of the common analogy of the internet where you don't need to understand the layers. But right now, I think a little bit of education needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues above here. I think wallets are a crucial part of what an end user sees, and it needs to be very seamless for him in order to actually educate him what NFTs are, because once it actually goes and checks it out, then it says it's very complex, and then he doesn't want to do it. It happened to me before when I tried to get one of my cousins to actually buy Bitcoin, not an NFT even, and then I told him what he needed to do in order to perform it, and he said, no, it's too complex.
So at Portis, we're a B2B company working with developers, letting them use our SDK, which then works consumer-facing through the other companies. But so I'll focus on gaming for a second because I'm a huge believer that gaming will help bring mass adoption. These young kids that are playing Fortnite and getting skins, they don't need to know how the consoles and the internet and everything works underneath. They just love playing it, and they understand the economics. They understand token economics without knowing it's called token economics better than a lot of people in this ecosystem. Now, I'm exaggerating. A lot of people are a lot smarter than me and the kids, obviously. But they get it. They innately get it because they're born into it. And I think we're focusing too much on the terminologies. And, I don't want to say that we have a fun time sitting in a circle talking about how great this technology is, but we do that. We should be focused solely on building simple products, simple wins that will advance this ecosystem further.
So just to play devil's advocate there, to advance the ecosystem further, you have to understand so you can actually innovate, right? And so I just challenge everyone to think of different ways that you could use NFTs besides gaming. Gaming is a really cool use case, but there are other ways. And just to shill for a second, Wire created this compliance token. And if you think of the blue check mark on Twitter, it's similar to that. Can't be traded. Once you're KYC'd on one platform, you have that compliance token that you can then use on any DEX anywhere or any platform that accepts that. And then any regulated KYC provider can opt into that network, essentially. And so there's other ways to use NFTs, and there's a lot of innovation to happen in the space still.
Wow, that's very cool. Well, thanks, guys. I think this is a super interesting discussion about terminology, but I want to cover some more aspects of what wallets do and what why they're important. So I think one one other really important aspect of what a wallet does is it essentially allows you to display what collectibles you have and gaming items, just to only talk specifically about the collectibles and gaming items use case. So I'm also wondering, but obviously that's, the current wallets are limited in some ways where you can't see what NFTs I own on Facebook. You can't go to my Facebook profile and see which NFTs I own. You can't see on my wallet, my house, you can't see which NFTs I own right now. I mean, maybe people are working on that. So I'm wondering, how do you guys think we can best utilize wallets to help people show off their collections? And, because collectibles really are, they help us demonstrate who we are. They're a piece of identity. How can we best use wallets to help people show off who they are? Graham?
Yeah, I think that's why we went the route of building the sticker market. So Status is a wallet, but we're also a chat function. And people understand having stickers in their chat. And so I think that thinking of wallets as the ultimate place to display your NFT might miss the point entirely. I think it's more about the applications in which you use it, and the wallet just happens to be where you keep custodial ownership of them. So
I have a question for you with the stickers. Can you send those stickers? And
Yeah.
But does it transfer ownership?
that's a great question, John. It does not.
So then it's a
So it's
custodial.
just a regular digital collectible then?
Sorry?
It's just a centralized digital sticker? Or-
So you're just you get to post that sticker in the chat, and the other people, they don't get to receive it. They're just seeing that. We're working on a way for you to send an emoji that can have value attached to it. But for right now, it's just you get to show that you purchased those sticker packs.
So so it's not a NFT. It's just a sticker with no value to it.
No, it's an NFT in the fact that the sticker, each sticker is unique, and they come in, and you have to hold them in your wallet in order to be able to use them in the chat.
But it doesn't transfer ownership or value.
No, but we're working on a emoji that allows you to transfer ownership of the send an emoji to someone, and then they get to take ownership of it in the chat.
Got it. Okay. That leads me to, in any wallet that's built, there's a fine balance between security and usability. So you have non-custodial wallets and you have custodial wallets. If you're a custodial wallet, that means that you are a centralized system at some part where you have total ownership of that person's private keys, NFTs, tokens, whatever it may be. And sure, being a custodian helps with the usability, but to stay with the ethos of this ecosystem, at least at Portis, we believe in complete non-custodialship. And we started off day one with NFTs built into it because we saw that, as you said, it helps with identity. If you have a collectible, crypto kitties or the DAOs from CryptoDozer, and you can show it to your friends, it creates a really cool experience. But to what you were saying about sending it to Facebook or Instagram or some of these other places, that may play into some security issues, and that could be part of the whole usability security balance.
Yeah, this is another issue that I want to bring up. Recently there was an article about domain names and talking about how, I think it was Decrypt, they went through and they said, using these people's domain names, we saw all their transaction history, we saw everything they own. How do we help users protect the information that they want to protect with a wallet, with a technology that's fundamentally public, where every transaction is publicly recorded? How do we help users, maybe they don't want to share some of that information? I feel like this is also a barrier to mainstream adoption. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah, so at Status, we set what we call reasonable defaults. So we try and we make it so that you're sharing nothing, and then it's your choice to share beyond that. And we try and make it easy for people to make sense of how they're going to do that, but just defaulting to what we think is best practices. And you don't want to sort of ruin it from a privacy perspective out of the gate. So you want to try and keep it as non-custodial as possible or private as possible.
Yeah, we're all about non-custodialship. We try to protect the user. We use end-to-end encryption. So if you create an account on Portis, or if you create an account on Gods Unchained or Skyweaver, if you played them today in the tournament, it's just an email and password. And when you create an email and password, that encrypts your private keys with end-to-end encryption, sort of like LastPass or OnePass. Sometimes protecting the user from themselves, like for us, we have to focus on them not forgetting their password. And so as soon as they create an account, we send them an email which will help them to remind them to back up their seed phrase. And unfortunately, sometimes if they don't do that, they forget their password and it's like losing your device. So that's hard to protect them from that.
I think it's very hard to deal with custodial assets, and a lot of the people that I've talked, a lot of my friends who are not in crypto have mentioned how difficult it is for them. But we're making a lot of progress in wallets, and I think a lot of people on this stage are leading the way, so that's exciting. All right, guys, we have about a minute left. Anything that you want to bring up that you haven't brought up in this panel? Maybe just go down the line. Start with you, Aura. Some final thoughts or closing comments?
Yeah, I think wallets and frictionless needs to be done. So in order to actually bring more consumers as well, which are outside of crypto, the wallet should be very, very frictionless. And right now, the wallets usually are very complex. I tried many different wallets, and it was very complex even for me. So what we did with our wallet approach is that we actually built a sign-in, a single sign-on support tool, and then you can log in from every browser, and once you log in, you are logged in for life. So it's very easy for the user to actually grasp it in terms of that. The only thing that is complex a bit about the wallet is the mnemonic password, but we couldn't find any other way to actually keep it secure enough.
All right, guys, we're done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great panel. Yeah, thank you.